we have 100% fatality rate. That is interaction. That is synergy. That is how dangerous chemicals are. That's how drugs can interact. Folks, this is why we have 106,000 deaths a year just from drugs alone, when they were prescribed and taken in the right manner. We're not talking erroneous prescriptions. If you add that to it, we're over 200,000. So how did I make the jump from this to drugs? Well, drugs are a toxin too, aren't they? So it is amazing how, when you put two things together, how it changes it. That's why, and I'm making a quick jump here, follow my mind please. Vitamins, synergy is critical also. Some people bring vitamins to me and they say, well, look at this 100%, this 100%, that 100%, that. It doesn't matter. I'd much rather see 2% of something, and 4% of something, and 30% of this one, and 1,000% of that. That's synergy, that's mimicking what's occurring in nature. Because things work together, and that changes the whole animal, so to speak. So, interaction, or synergy, is absolutely critical. So we add all these things together. Your genetic predisposition, play up or down with nutrition. Add a sensitivity to, say, corn. And then, let's say you're going through perimenopause, or you have a thyroid disorder, or your adrenals are stressed, which makes you 5 times more reactive when your adrenals are stressed. Important note for weight. And you might walk by an area that's being sprayed, and you just had a fight with your wife or daughter or son, and then add to it some sort of toxin from within. Now, what could that be? This toxin from within is leaky gut syndrome. You are creating toxins from within when you are not digesting things right inside. You are fermenting foods. When you're fermenting foods, you're putrefying foods. When you're putrefying, you're creating toxic byproducts. It irritates the gut wall. When it irritates the gut wall, it creates leakiness there. It's called leaky gut syndrome. This putrefied food goes into your bloodstream, starts circulating, loads down the liver. The liver becomes very unhappy. You become more and more toxic. Eventually, you can't handle it anymore. These toxins have to go places. Goes into your fat cells. Goes into your bone. And when it goes into your fat cells, your body says, ha, safe haven. I'm never going to get rid of that fat cell because it has that toxin, it has that toxin, it has that toxin in it. And it makes it very, very difficult to lose weight. And if you do lose weight, that can be accompanied by some severe problems because you went on this calorie restriction diet that Dr. Stacey covered, or you're forcing it with the Atkins diet. What happens is you're starting to release toxins, which then overwhelms your liver even more. Patient's energy goes down, their metabolism goes down, and they can descend into chronic disease. And that's often the point that patients find their way over here. And for them, it's a little frustrating that I can't just say, well, you need more vitamin A and zinc and watch your rise and in 1 month be well. No, it's usually quite a journey to bring health back because you have all these things you've got to deal with. So what we've tried to do today is really try to teach you about some of the things that are surrounding you. We'll get into how to get your liver out and rolling next time. Pesticides and obesity. Prenatal period constitutes an important mineral vulnerability not only for cancer but also for obesity. Prenatal exposure to several pesticides, as DDT, DDE, HCB, has been shown to increase the risk of overweight obesity during childhood or puberty. This is an article that we found that says, hey, it's really important to be very clean when you're pregnant or your child will be stuck with this burden throughout life. Okay, so they have severe hormone disrupting effects. And and it will make you more prone to genetic polymorphisms, which means anything that you're weak in, you will express. What on earth did I say there? Let's say you have a predisposition towards obesity or Parkinson's, and you become toxic, you get exposed to this toxin, you're going to express that gene, it's going to start happening. Yeah? And another one that really upplays your toxicity is nutritional excesses. We don't talk about this often enough. The saturated fats, everybody knows what that is, right? How do you tell saturated fat? This is a fun one. You take an oil, if it congeals into a solid at room temperature, very often, most of the time, it's a saturated fat. If it stays liquid, it's not. Does that mean all liquids are good? No. I say a few examples, like canola oil, that's definitely not my favorite oil. And it's liquid. Yeah? Vegetable oil. So, infections is a toxin. You know what the number one infection is that creates obesity? Tooth infections. Very often undiagnosed. Root canals, especially. If you have a root canal, there's a really high chance that you have cavitation underneath it in the bone. A chronic infection, which is spewing endotoxins, toxins from within, into your system, creating a slowing down of your metabolism. This is a really important point. Think about this little concept. I was thinking about this the other day. If you have gangrene in one of your toes, what do they do? They cut it off. Yeah? Get rid of it. It can endanger your life. What happens when you get a root canal? This is essentially gangrene of the tooth. It is essentially gangrene of the tooth. It's the only time in medicine that we actually try to save it. How do we do that? We drill into the infected pulp and material. We drill down into it, driving the infection hopefully away. But some of it goes into the bone that's right around it. Then we put a rubber plasticized substance in it, which, by the way, is loaded with PBA, and try to save the tooth that way. Yeah? Very slowly on, this infection can eat away at the jawbone, creating a cavitation which is not picked up by normal dental x-rays. There's only one dental x-ray that will really pick them up, and that's called a cavitat. C-A-V-I-T-A-T. Cavitat x-ray. And a cavitat x-ray, and there's quite a few of them in this country, is the only way to pick them up. If you have a suspicion, get an x-ray taken with a cavitat. Dysbiosis, I just talked about that, that's the leaky gut syndrome. Vaccinations. Vaccinations is a whole other topic out there. A lot of vaccinations still do have mercury in them. The new H1N1 vaccine that's out has twice the legal limit. They've had to change laws in several states to make it come through. It's not really, well, I won't say more. Stress is absolutely huge. It makes you 5 times more likely, if you're under chronic stress, to become overweight. I briefly alluded to this. When you are exposed to lead as a child, it actually creates denser bones as a child. And why is that? It's because you're trying to put lead into the bones, and it tries to surround it by as much safe material as possible. The body's incredibly smart. But inevitably, you start losing some of that bone, and some of that lead or other heavy metals will be released later on in life, contributing to ill health, lowered energy, lowered metabolism, chronic fatigue syndromes, autoimmune disorders. I can go on and on and on. Here's the stress thing again. I put these together in a plane, and it was kind of turbulent, so I'm jumping around a bit along with the plane here. So elevated cortisol causes obesity, reduced muscle and bone loss. This elevated cortisol is from stress levels. Yeah? When you're under stress, you have elevated cortisol. We all know the apple shape. Stress. There it is. Lots of stress. Increased cardiovascular disease, by the way, is very measurable here.